हरि ओम् सर्वेभ्यः नमस्काराः। अद्य कौमुद्याः हल् सन्धि प्रकरणे तुगागमप्रकरणादारभ्य शीतुक इति सूत्रादारभ्य अध्ययनं कुर्मः। येनाक्षरसमां नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयं नमस्कृत्य तदुक्तिः परिभाव्य च वैयाकरणसिद्धान्तकौमुदीयं विरच्यते. Can you hear me, Ravi?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, because my screen says connecting to audio, so I'm not sure. Okay, I think before we start, there are a few questions from last class. So, I think we should just take them before we start with today's. Oh, okay. There are quite a lot of questions, I guess. Anyway, good. The first question. When we use samvatsara, we put anuswara using monuswara. How is sam a pada? मोनुस्वारः इत्यनेन संवत्सरः संयोगः इत्यादिषु सर्वत्र अनुस्वारः मोनुस्वारः इत्यनेन मान्तस्य पदस्य अनुस्वारः स्यात् इति अनुस्वारः कृतः। कथं तस्य पदत्वम् इति प्रश्नः। सर्वेषाम् उपसर्गाणां पदत्वम् अस्ति। संवत्सरः इत्यत्र तु अस्माभिः प्रादिसमासः इति समासः क्रियते, यत्र कृदन्तैः सह अथवा संयोगः संवत्सरः इत्यादीनि पदानि सन्ति तत्र सर्वत्र समासोऽपि वर्तते. There is also a samasa. It is not just adding an upasarga to the dhatu. That will happen in tingantas, but in subantas when we have, and I think even in subantas, the upasargas always have the pada samya because they are nipatas. What's the sutra? Pragrishvara nipataha ityanena उपसर्गाः क्रियायोगे उपसर्गाः भवन्ति, तेषां निपातसंज्ञा अपि अस्ति। स्वरादिनिपातमव्ययम् इत्यनेन निपातानाम् अव्ययमिति संज्ञा अस्ति। अव्ययत्वात् सुबुत्पत्तिः भवति, लोपश्च भवति. All upasargas are avyayas, which means that, as I told once upon a time, that there are only two kinds of padas in Sanskrit. It either has to be a subanta or has to be a tinganta. Even avyayas are called subantas because they get supratyaya, but all the supratyayas get deleted. That is why we do not hear any supratyaya after a subanta, after an avyaya. Sorry. So similarly, the upasargas are also nipatas. All nipatas are avyayas, and since they are avyayas, we add supratyaya and delete them. So because of the supratyaya, because supratyaya has been added, it becomes a subanta and it is a pada. Therefore, the makara is at the end of a pada. Okay, so that answers the first question, I hope. Okay, the second question: why do we need two sutras for dhudagama? Both dasithut and nashcha are similar. Yeah, they are similar, but the sthani is different. In one, the sthani is sakara, which is after dakara, and in the other, the sthani is the sakara after nakara. So daha sidhut and nashcha. He might have probably joined it saying danoho or something. Joined dakara and nakara and said that the sakara after that will get dhut, but that is not Panini style. Usually, he uses a pratyahara to compress varnas, abbreviate, but for dakara and nakara we cannot do any pratyahara. And in other cases it is rare that, he uses, it's not that he will not, but in other cases he rarely uses two letters together. So you just put, there are two conditions. The first condition in which the sakara gets dhudagama is when it is preceded by a dakara, and the second condition is when it is preceded by a nakara. That is all. Okay. Okay, there is one more question by Priya. Kurvanti. Okay. Priya's question is, okay, since Panini ordains a jhontaha, okay, we discussed kurvanti last class, hope you remember. Our question was, there is kurvanti, and why is there no natva for nakara? And we said Anuswara happens and then Parasavarna, because of Adhitattva there is no Natva. Her question is, since Panini, one question, I don't know, can the people see this question screen on their screen? As in, is it only?
No, it's only for the organizers.
Okay, I mean, no, since you're seeing my screen, would this be visible was what I wondered.
No, we can only see the PowerPoint, that's it.
Okay, fine. So I'll read out the question. She says, since Panini ordains in Shontaha that the Antadesha should happen, no Sandhikarya within it needs to be considered. Because if Sandhikarya resulted in a different form, he would have ordained that form itself in place of Anta. Okay, her logic is, I mean, like we did in, say, probably in Kakud Mantaha, where he said Kakud, which means that the Anunasika Sandhi will not happen. It is, see a difference, that it is not that wherever he says there is an Adesha, no Karya can happen after it. That logic could apply only if, after applying Anti, everywhere we had Natva, we could get Natva. Then if he said Anti without Natva, then we could say that, okay, Natva will not happen because Panini said Anti. But that is not the case. After we do Antadesha, if there is a Repha or a Shakara, we have possibility of getting a Natva. If not, there is no possibility of getting a Natva. So Panini could not have said the form with Natva or Natva to prevent Natva, right? He has to say the general form, and then something can happen in some specific case and something might not happen in some specific case. So we cannot use this logic to say that no Sandhi will happen after Antadesha. If the Karya which might happen after Antadesha were common to everything, if every case would have that particular Karya, then only we can argue that since Panini did not make that Karya should not happen. But this is not so. Even after we do Jhontaha, there are some cases in which Natva might apply and some cases in which it might not apply. So the question is, why should it not apply where there is a possibility of it being applied? Okay. Okay. Okay, I think there are a few more questions. Okay, should we be considering the application of Nashcha Padantasya when it is within the Anta part? Well, here, as in this particular case, the Nashcha Padantasya happens solely to prevent Natva. In all cases where the Natva will not happen, probably that is why. Okay, so you are saying, since he said Anti, there is no need to do that. Well, I'm not convinced, but I think I'll think of it the answer. So there are a few more questions which I think I'll take up a bit later. Okay, so
Soumya-ji, we'll have a transcript of all these questions saved, so I can send them to you after class.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Oh, so please do that. So I think I'll answer. There are a few questions which are regarding the Balamanorama commentary. Since we are not directly dealing with the commentary, I'll take. I mean, I'll answer them, but I'll answer them later. I'll mail the answer, so interested people can look it up. Any other questions? Ashay, can we start? Okay. Kaksham Aravamahe. Today is anyway going to be a bit of an exercise for the brain. So, okay. Gatakakshayam किमभूत् इति किञ्चित् पश्यामः. अनुस्वारसन्धिः अर्थात् अनुस्वारस्य ए परसवर्णः मोनुस्वारः नष्टापदान्तस्य झलि इति अनुस्वारः ततश्च तस्य परसवर्णः इति ज्ञातः. तत्र परसवर्ण अनुस्वारस्य अपवादाः सन्ति. यथा मोनुस्वारः इत्यनेन यः अनुस्वारः विहितः तस्य अपवादभूतानि कानिचन सूत्राणि सन्ति. मो राजि समः क्वौ क्विबन्ते राजतौ परे समः मकारस्य मकार एव भवति, अनुस्वारः न भवति. यथा सम्राट् इत्यत्र. तथैव हेम परे वा हकारे परे मकारस्य मयेव भवति. विकल्पेन मकारपरके हकारे, एवमेव यवलपरके हकारे परे मकारस्य यवलाः एव भवन्ति. तथा नपरे नः नकारपरके हकारे परे मकारस्य नकार एव भवति. किं नुते, किं वलयति, किं मलयति इत्यादीनि उदाहरणान्यपि दृष्टानि. ततः आगमप्रकरणम् आरब्धम्. आदौ ङुनोः कुक् टुक् शरि नकारनकारयोः कुक् इति आगमः टुक् इति आगमश्च भवतः. शरिपरे इत्युक्तं प्राङ् षष्ठः ततः नकारस्य सुगण् षष्ठः इति अस्ति. ततः डस् सि धुट् नश्च इति सूत्रद्वयेन धुट् इति आगमः विधितः. षट् सन्तः सन्त्सः इति उदाहरणद्वयं दृष्टम्. इदानीम् अग्रिमं अग्रिमं सूत्रमस्ति तुगागमविधायकं शि तुक् इति सूत्रम्. पदद्वयमस्ति शि तुक्. पदस्य इति अधिकारः अस्ति. नश्च इति सूत्रेण नः इति अनुवर्तते. हेम परे वा इत्यतः वा इति अनुवर्तते. पदस्य नः नः इति अत्र षष्ठी विभक्तिः. पदान्तस्य नकारस्य शि इति सप्तमी विभक्तिः. शकारे परे पदान्तस्य नकारस्य शकारे परे तुक् इति आगमः भवति. तुगागमः. पदान्तस्य नस्य शे परे तुग् वा स्यात् इति सूत्रार्थः. तुक् इत्ययमागमः कित् अन्त्यस्य ककारस्य हलन्त्यमित्यनेन इत्संज्ञा. तस्मादयं कित् आगमः. कित् इति कारणात् आद्यन्तौ टकितौ इत्यनेन नकारस्य अन्ते भवति आगमः. कित्वात् आद्यन्तौ टकितौ इति नकारात् परः तुगागमः. सन् शम्भुः इत्यस्ति. नकारात् परत्वेन शकारः अस्ति. शी तुक् इत्यनेन नकारस्य तुगागमः. नकारात् परत्वेन तुक् इति आगमः विधीयते. स न त् शम्भुः. इदानीं स्तोहुश्चुनाश्चुः इत्यनेन अस्य तकारस्य स्थाने चकारः क्रियते. तकारस्य श्चुत्वे स्तोहुश्चुनाश्चुः इत्यनेन श्चुत्वे चकारः. ततः इमं चकारं निमित्तीकृत्य अस्य नकारस्य पुनः श्चुत्वं क्रियते. स्तोहुश्चुनाश्चुः इत्यनेन स य च शम्भुः. पूर्वं तकारस्य शकारं निमित्तीकृत्य तकारस्य श्चुत्वेन चकारः. चकारं निमित्तीकृत्य नकारस्य श्चुत्वेन ञकारः. स य च शम्भुः. ततः षष्ठोटि झयः परस्य शस्य छः वा स्यात् अटि. चकारः झैवर्णः. तस्मात् परस्य शकारस्य अटिपरे अकारे परे चकारः. स य च शम्भुः. सैच्छम्भुः. ततः झरोझरि सवर्णे हलः परस्य झरः लोपः वा स्यात् झरि. सवर्णे झरि इत्युक्तत्वात् छकारे परे अस्य चकारस्य लोपः. सैच्छम्भुः. If you look at it, there is a sequential application of sutras, many sutras in the Tripadi. The first thing that happens is when we have san and shambhu, the nakara gets tukagama by the sutra shituka. That the is converted to chakara by stoshtunashtuhu. After this chakara, using this chakara as nimitta, the nakara is converted to nyakara again by stoshtunashtuhu. Now the shakara of shambhu is converted to chakara by the sutra shashchoti. Once we have chakara, the initial chakara gets an optional lopa by jharodhari savarne. right? You have final form when we apply all these sutras would be Sai Chambhu. Right? But we see that there are 3 optional sutras in the series. Jharojhari savarne iti vikalpena lopaha, shashchoti iti vikalpena chatvam, shituka iti vikalpena tugagamaha. All these 3 sutras are optional. So if we do not apply the sutra, what would happen? We'll go backwards now. If we do not apply Jharojhari savarne, it would stop here saying Sai Chambhu. Right? So this is the first thing where we have applied all sutras. If we do not delete the chakara, lopa bhave, sai chambhu, chakara api shruyate. So now if we do not do chatva, if we do not apply shashchoti, then the cha would remain as sh. Chatva bhave, sai shambhu, sai shambhu, the chakara shruyate. Now, if we don't do the tuk at all, the first step itself does not happen, then it would be Sai Shambhu, because those Shunashtuhu does apply, and we have Sai Shambhu. There are 4 forms. If we go back to the previous slide, if we don't do Jharojhari Savarne, we end up with Sayach Shambhu. If we don't do Shashchoti, we end up with Sayach Shambhu. If we don't do Tugagama, at San Shambhu, the n is converted to nya by stoshtunashtuhu, and we have sai shambhu. So finally we have 4 forms with sai shambhu. So there is a karika which tells that yachau, yakara chakarau, yacha cha, yakara chakara chakaraha, yachasha, yakara chakara shakaraha, yashav, yakara shakaraha. Iti chatushtayam rupanam iha. Rupanam chatushtayam siddhyati sai shambhu ityatra kesham tuk chatva chalopanam vikalpanat. When we apply these optionally, when tuk is optional, chatva is optional, and chalopa is also optional. So by these we have 4 forms. One in which there is a nyakara and a chakara, which is the first form. There is a form in which there is nyakara, chakara and chakara, which is the second form. There is a form with nyakara, chakara and shakara, which is the third, and finally nyakara and shakara, which is the 4th form. Okay. Question? Will Shalam Jashwante apply after San Shambhu? That is actually the question which I also thought of. But San Shambhu. I'm not sure actually. Actually, we should do Jastva here. It appears like we should do Jastva. Okay. Hiralalji?
Your voice is not clearly audible.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, because I'm using the same setup as all these days. Are others also having a problem? Anybody else having a problem with audio? Okay. Yes, it's a problem with only hello, Vasuji?
Namaste ji, I don't have problem with the audio, but your screen is showing all sorts of black spots.
Oh, okay. I mean, it might be a problem with the net connection, because as you said, slow connections might have problems with it. Maybe it will set right after some time, hopefully.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Now coming back to the question, Sadagopanji's question was, will Jalam Jashwante apply at this stage? After we do Shituk, should we do Jashtva? That's the question. Actually, it looks like we should. We should do Jashtva here and then do Jartva here, and then go forward to Shashchoti and Jharojhari Savarne, I think. Because the Tugagama is for the Nakara. Nakara padante asti chet takarasyapi padantatvam siddhyati. Tena chalam jashonte iti bhavet iti bharati. Yes, Jastva is, oh yeah, this is 8.3.31. Correct, sorry. Jastvam prati tukaha asiddhatvam. I was thinking of the number and I was reading this as 8.2.31. Jastva comes before Tugagama. Jastva is 8.2.39 and this is 8.3.31. So asiddhatva Jastvam na bhavati. Thanks, Ravi. Okay.
Namaste. Sorry, you have answered the question. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Correct. So sorry, I was confused. The Jastva will not apply here because Jastva sees only Nakara. It does not see Shituku because Shituku comes after Jastva. It is 8.2.39 and this is 8.3.31. Asiddhatvat Jastvam na bhavati. Okay. So Saichambuhu ityatra chatvari rupani. Okay. Agrimam sutram bhavati ngamo hrasvadachi ngamun nityam ngamudagamaha iti prasiddhaha Hal Sandhi. Okay, before this there is a question. Is there a sutra which tells that Padanta is retained even after the Karya is done? Well, an agama will never change the dharma of a sthani. Yadagamaha tadgunibhutaha tadgrahanenaiva grahyante is what we tell. And agama means it will not change anything. And anyway, even if it were an adesha, after we do it, it is still at the end of a pada, so it happens to be padanta. There's nothing special here. But generally the agama will not change anything of the sthani. It just it takes on itself all the properties of the sthani by itself. So if nakara was a pada, if san was a pada, then sant is also a pada, and takara is at the end of a pada, so takara is also padanta. Okay, so that is a general rule with any agama. Agamas will not change the property of the sthani. It takes on itself any property of the sthani. Okay, so gamudagamaha Panchapadani santi. Ngamaha hrasvat achi ngamunt nityam iti chhedaha padasya iti adhikriyate. Hrasvat iti panchami. Hrasvat parasya. Ngamaha ityapi panchami. Gamah parasya. So there are two successions. There is a hrasva which is followed by ngam and the ngam itself is followed by ach. Achi iti saptami. Panchamyaha sattvat shashya viparinamyate achaha hrasvat paraha yaha ngam tatah parasya achaha iti sutrarthaha. The meaning of this will be clear only in the sutrartha. Ngamut iti prathama. Ngamut iti agamaha bhavati. Nityam bhavati. The previous sutras are all vikalpa sutras. What we saw, dasi dhut, Nashcha and Shituk. This comes in the same series. The previous sutras were all optional. So Panini specifies this is a nitya, a compulsory agama. Hrasvat paraha yaha ngam tadantam yat padam tasmat parasya achaha nityam ngamudagamaha syat. So to derive the exact sutrartha, there has been a lot of thought which has gone into it in the bhashya. So finally the siddhanta artha is hrasvat paraha yaha ngam tadantam yat padam tasmat parasya achaha nityam ngamudagamaha syat. There is a hrasva. The hrasva is followed by ngam, which is at the end of a pada. That is, there is a pada ending with ngam and the ngam is preceded by hrasva. And following the hrasva, if there is an ach, which is a swara, tasmat parasya achaha, that ach, that swara will get the agama called ngamudagama. Right? Hrasvat paraha yaha ngam tadantam yat padam tasmat parasya achaha nityam ngamudagamaha syat. Now what exactly is ngamudagama? This is a very weird nirdesha of Panini, because he says he has applied the ukara and takara anubandha to the pratyahara called ngam. What he wants to say is, is not ngamut. There is no particle as ngamut. This, the ukara and takara are there as anubandhas. Just like dhut was a dhut means there is ukara and takara get its samya, and it is dhakara remains as the agama. So the anubandhas are always applied to one particle, but here he does the ukara and takara on the pratyahara called ngam. It means ngam is a pratyahara. Nyama ngana na. Nakara nakara nakaranam pratyaharena ngana na iti bhavati. Tesham namut iti ukara takarau anubandhau. Tesham varnanam iti jneyau. Mut, nut and nut. These are the actual agamas. He says namut. He means add the anubandha u and t to 3. The 3 letters which form part of the ngam pratyahara. So it would be n, n, n. If you add the anubandhas, you get mut, nut and nut. These are the 3 agamas which are all tit. So mut means nakaraha agamaha. Mut ityatra takarasya halantyam ityanena itsamya. Ukarasya upadeshaya janunasika ityanena itsamya. Shishyate nakaraha. Nakaragamaha ityarthaha. Nut ityukte पुनः टकार उकारयोः इत्संज्ञा लोपश्च नकारागमः. नुट् इत्युक्ते नकारागमः. आद्यन्तौ टकितौ इति परिभाषया तित्वात् आदौ भवन्ति एते आगमाः. What is an anubandha? Okay, good question. An anubandha is a paryaya pada for it. What we call it samya is also referred to as anubandha. So they are interchangeable. When I say anubandha, I mean they get it samya. They are the anubandhas. Okay. So namut, you have to know the construction of namut is by applying, you take the ngam pratyahara and apply the ukara and takara to ngam, which means you apply it to the letters which form a part of ngam, which is na, 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 and you get 3 agamas. So the sutra tells hrasvat paraha yaha ngam hrasvaswarat paratvena ng, n, n ityete varnaha santi chet tadantam yat padam tasmat parasya achaha न न न इत्येव आगमाः भवन्ति. यथा संख्यत्वात् when you have nakara you get another nakara as the agama. When you have na you get a second nakara, and when you have n it is a second nakara which is the agama. You have pratyang atma. pratyang atma ityasti. ह्रस्वः अस्ति. ह्रस्वात् परः यः ngam nakarः तदन्तं यत् पदं प्रत्यङ् इति पदं तस्मात् परस्य अचः आकारस्य नकारागमः भवति. प्रत्यङ् न आत्मा प्रत्यङ्गात्मा इति नकारद्वयं श्रूयते. There is hrasva akara. hrasvat paraha yaha ngam is the nakara. Tadantam yat padam refers to the pratyang. Pratyang is a pada which is ending in n and has a hrasva preceding. So when this pada is followed by an ach, which is akara, the akara will get the ngamudagama. Ngamudagama is yatha sankhya. That is, if there was nakara here, there is a nakaragama. So you have 2 nakaras, pratyangatma. Evameva suganna ishaha. ह्रस्वः अस्ति ककारोत्तरः आकारः तस्मात् परः यः ngam नकारः तदन्तं यत् पदं सुगण् इति पदं तस्मात् पदात् अचि परे ईकारे परे ईकारस्य नकारागमः भवति. सुगण्णीशः. सन् अच्युतः. ह्रस्वः सकारोत्तरः आकारः तस्मात् परः यः ngam नकारः तदन्तं यत् पदं सन् इति पदं तस्मात् अचि परे अकारे परे अकारस्य नुडागमः क्रियते. सन्न न अच्युतः सन्नच्युतः इति नकारद्वयं श्रूयते. Okay, is this clear so far? I think there was a question of Sadagopanji remained earlier. Okay. Hiralalji?
See, if this is Nityam, if this is always, then why Yanachi? Why not Yanachi?
Yanachi, that is one standard objection. We don't have an answer except saying Sautratvat Sadhu. In Sutra, it is, in the Sutra, since it is a Sutra, Chandovat Sutrani Bhavanti. The Sutra is like the Vedas, so whatever he used is correct. We do not make an objection over the Sutra. The Sutra could apply there, Gamo Hrasvarachi Gamun Nityam. But you see that even if Panini himself says it is a Nitya, it is not actually a Nitya Sutra. There are exceptions to this Sutra in other places also. So why he uses Nityam and is it really Nitya is a question which is actually still being debated. And Iko Yanachi also, I mean, for the others who did not understand the doubt, in iko yanachi, when you have yan and achi, there is asvat paraha yahangam, tasmat paraha yaha ach. You have all the conditions, and still Panini himself has not done the namudagama. There are also other cases where namudagama is not done, even though the sutra says nityam. So I do not know the bhashya actually. If the nitya grahana, bhashyakara accepts the nitya grahana or not, I do not know. Maybe I should just look into it and tell. Two questions by Shalagopanji. One is in the previous case where we had San Shambhu, can we do Jastra before applying Shituka? It will not apply because there is no takara to do the itza, right? You have only San and Shambhu. There is no takara to do Jastva. And the nakara will not get Jastva because it is Jhalam. Jhal varneshu nakaraha na antarbhavati. Tasmat nakarasya Jastvam na bhavati. Takaraha nasti. Tasmat tatra Jastasya prakasaktihi nasti. The second I did not understand. Said Unadi Sutra is the nakara in un and it. No. What was the context of this question? I did not understand. Sadagopanji, do you have a mic?
Yama, that's not Yama Nityam. So in the Unadi Sutram also the same question which was raised by some other participant. That
I told you, Amohasvaramchi Gamun Nityam has been, I mean, though the Sutra tells Nityam, it has not been applied in many cases. We find many examples where Namudagama is not done. So,
but usually, I read somewhere that Pani uniformly does not use the Sutram, this, even though it is Namudagamam is Nityam, he doesn't use it whenever there is a yit involved. To make the yit very clear, when supposing you say the dhatu,
no, but in Yanachi or Unadi there is no it samya. Iko Yanachi Yan, the N, oh, you are saying Yan is it, okay.
Yeah, because of the yit.
In Unadi it is not it samya.
Wow, that's what I want to know.
Unadi pratyayas is a set of pratyayas where nakara, I don't know actually.
Because there was also a controversy there whether it should be Unadi or Unnadi. There should be a Namunityam. So I thought maybe that is also a yet. That's why I was just checking on the point. Anyway,
I should say for that particular thing I do not know, and I do not even know what is the basis of saying he does not do it when there is an it samya letter. I look at it.
There is one dhatu sign when a nich and all is coming. I forgot that sutra. There also he doesn't do sanandam. It's not sanandam. So wherever there is a yit.
No, sananta is the used exceptly in the Panini Sutra maybe sanadyantaha, but sananta is definitely in use. We don't use sananta, we use sananta.
We use it, but Panini has not.
Sanadyantaha. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look this up. Sorry, I cannot speak with authority on this. Can you tell me where you read that or where you heard that this thing that it samya is there, he does not use it?
I don't remember really. I thought so. Yeah, I read.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I just look at the bhashya ones and I'll also see if there is any such rule. If it is there, it would solve most of our problems, I guess. I'll have to look at it. But thanks for the tip, because so far I didn't even have an idea of where it is used and where is there a niyama or not. So maybe there is a niyama. Okay. So that was a deviation. So I think people got the flow of the discussion. The objection raised was in iko yanachi, where you have yan and achi, it should have been yan achi, or even in sanadhyanta thatavaha, it should have been sanadhyantaha. So why Panini himself says it is a nitya agama, and why does he not do the agama himself? He has not done the agama. So why is it is the question. So my answer initially was I do not know, because there are cases where the rule has been breached, but Shiragopanji said that there is a point of view that wherever the n get the it samya, there he has not applied namudagama. For example, in iko yanachi, and the nakara is it, hayavarat and land, that is a pratyahara. So since it is it samya, he has not done namudagama. Similarly, in sanadyanta, the nakara is it, and therefore there is no it samya. So if that is the case, that could be, I mean, from the examples which I can think of now, it sounds okay, but I do not know if that is the case, right? Hiralalji?
In Brahmi Vyakhya, I read the meaning of the word nitya is prayaha.
Here in this sutra? Okay.
That is
because
what
I
I
looked at
have.
the Bala Manorama, and the Bala Manorama does not give anything, and Takabodhini also does not have.
No, in Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi, when I went through Brahmi Vyakhya, this is given.
Okay.
Now, how he has interpreted nityam as become prior, we do not. But what I personally feel, what you said, no, that just like Veda, these are the Vedic sutras only, and so Panini has that privilege, but we are not all the classical literature, they are not supposed to have it in that way, option. This is a must.
Correct. That is definitely there. I mean, for the sutras we have, I mean, even if we do not need it for this case, in many other cases, we support the sutra prayoga by saying Chandovat Sutrani. They are like the Vedas, and the prayoga is okay for Panini in the sutras, but not for classical literature.
So Panini is not to be underrated, rather he is to be equated with the Arsh prayoga or Veda prayoga. And
that is
especially that is why he has used the word nityam, that although I have used it in this way, none of you will use it in this way.
Correct. Yeah, that is the thing which I remember from what I've heard. But the thing is, if there is a possibility of giving it a logical explanation, like he said, but I have to see if Panini has used the Namudagama anywhere at all.
That would be a very good point.
Yeah, if the rule, if it is true that he has done Namudagama where it is not it, and if he has not done it where it is it, that could be a logical explanation, which is always good. But even if not, we have an explanation. Vasuji?
Namaste ji, I want to add to this one more comment. I don't know whether it's correct or not.
Yes.
If you apply this sutra, is that a possibility it will give a viparita artha or anishta artha?
Well, you could say that in some cases maybe, but yan achi is obviously yan and achi. I mean, there is nothing called nachi, so I do not know. I do not see any such possibility in this case.
Because he has been so smart in avoiding any confusion. If he puts the rule there, then it's probably will.
Spashta pratipatti is also a possibility. To spashtameva vaktum syat. That is also quite a possibility. But okay, Priyamada says anachicha, but in anachi. But is it a padanta as a question? Anachi. He says anachi, which is na achi, where you have na, and tasman nudachi. So anachicha cannot be an example. I mean, because in anachicha the nakara is not padanta. This clearly says namantasya padasya. Since nakara is not padanta, anachicha will not serve as a counter example for this, or an example of this. Okay, so let's not think about it. If anybody of you has any things, or maybe Ravi can ask Satish ji and see what he says. I'll also try to find out more about this. A pratyahara is not a pada by itself, but when he says ikaha yan, the end gets supratyaya and gets lopa, because otherwise it would not be prathama vibhakti. We say it is prathama vibhakti, means it is a vibhaktiyanta. There is prathama vibhakti added to it, and the supratyaya gets halnyadina lopa. Halyabhyo dirghatsatya praktam hal. So it is a pada. Anything, I mean, anything that is used has to be a pada. Apadam na prayunjita ityeva niyamaha. If it is not a pada, we are not qualified to use it. It is not qualified to be used. It has to be a pada to be actually used. Okay. So, well, Sannachyutaha. I'm not sure if I should start the next prakarana now. You've been wondering about Samskrita and everything for the past few days. The next prakarana starts it, but it is quite a long thing. It is 10 to 8 now. So this will take at least till 9:15. Is everybody okay with it? 9:15 or probably 9:20. Or should we push it to next class? Okay, I think because, I mean, I can't cut this because, I mean, it's good if it goes in one flow. Okay. Okay, let's do it at least for the next 10 minutes and see where we get, and then maybe and think of whether to stop or not. Okay, Samassuti is the next sutra. Paradvayamasti Samaha Suti Matuvaso Rusambuddho Chandasi iti sutrat Ru iti anuvartate. Samaha iti shashti vibhakti. Sam iti upasargasya sthane Suti pare Sut iti agamaha. केषाञ्चन धातूनां सुट् इति आगमः विधीयते. तस्मिन् परे रुः इति प्रथमा विभक्तिः. रु इति आदेशः भवति. रु इत्यत्र उकारः अनुनासिकः. उपदेशे अजनुनासिक इत्यनेन इत्संज्ञा वर्तते. तस्य लोपश्च. तस्मात् रेफः आदेशः भवति. समो रुः स्यात् सुटि. समः उपसर्गस्य सुटि परे ऋत्वं भवति. अर्थात् मकारस्य स्थाने अलोन्त्यस्य इत्यनेन अन्त्यादेशः. मकारस्य स्थाने रेफः आदेशः भवति इति सूत्रार्थः. रु इत्यत्र उपदेशे अजनुनासिक इत्यनेन उकारस्य इत्संज्ञा अस्ति. तस्य लोपश्च वर्तते. सम कर्ता इत्यस्ति. कर्ता इति कृ धातोः त्रिजन्तः. तस्य सम इति उपसर्गः. So you have some and कर्ता. Now, सम्परिभ्यां करोतौ भूषणे इति कृ धातोः सुट् इति आगमः क्रियते. The कृ धातु gets a sut agama. Since it's an agama, it comes tit agama. It comes at the beginning of kru. So you have samu s karta. This is your sut. Now, samassuti ityanena makarasya sthane rutvam arthat repha adeshah bhavati. Sar s karta. Samassuti iti rutvam. Sam karta iti sthite sudagame krite sar s karta. Atranunasikah purvasya atra doshah asti purvasya tuva iti sutram. So this is a sutra which is at the beginning of the Rutva Prakarana. If you saw there, Matuvaso Ruchandasi is where the Rutva starts, which is 831, and immediately he says Atra. Atra means Rutva Prakarane. Purvasya Anunasikaha Vikalpena Bhavati. Purvasya arthat Rephat Purvaha Yaha Varnaha. Tasya Vikalpena Anunasikaha Bhavati. Means the entire Rutva Prakarana, wherever the Rutva Prakarana goes, in the entire Rutva Prakarana, before the repha, whatever is there before the rutva, that swara will get anunasika optionally. Atra arthatu ruprakarane rohu purvasya anunasikah vikalpena bhavati. Sar s karta ityasti rutvam kritam rohu purvasya arthat akarasya sakarottara akarasya anunasikah bhavati. Sar s karta iti anunasikah. Okay. So this tells optionally once you had samu, the makara is converted to ru, and the one before ru, that is the swara which comes precedes ru, will get anunasika optionally. Right? Atra anunasikaha purvasyatu va. Anunasikat paronuswaraha. Okay. So this is a very weird way of putting it. The sutra, if you just read it, looks like there is anuswara after anunasika, but that is not the interpretation. Anunasikam vihaya rohu purvasmat paraha anuswaragamaha syat. Anunasika iti lyablope panchami iti uchyate. Arthatu anunasikam vihaya ityarthaha. Wherever there is no anunasika. Atra anunasika purvasyatu va iti anunasikaha vikalpena vihitaha. The anunasika was optional. So when there is no anunasika, rohu purvasmat paraha anuswaragamaha syat. There is an anuswara agama. So one case is where the swara before ru gets anunasika. The other case is where there is an anuswara agama. So after the swara, rohu purvasmat paraha, that is before ru and after the ru. Okay, let's see. Sar skarta, there is no anunasika. So the rohu purvaha akaraha, akarat paraha anuswara agamaha bhavati. So there is an anuswara agama after the akara. You have samr karta, right? So there is one case where samassuti ityanena makarasya rutvam kriyate. Sar skarta. Tataha atranunasika purvasya tu va ityanena anunasikah pakshe tadabhave anunasikat paronuswaraha ityanena anuswara agamaha. So you have two forms. One is sar skarta where there is anunasika, and samr skarta where there is an anuswara. Right? So in both these cases, kharavasanayohu visarjaniyaha. We studied this sutra earlier, much before in the Atsandhi Prakarana. Kaharthaha khari avasane cha pare rephasya visarjaniyah syat padante. खरि परे अत्र सकारः वर्तते रेफात् परत्वेन सकारः रेफस्य विसर्जनीयः भवति रेफस्य विसर्गः आदेशः भवति अर्थात् पश्यामः विसर्जनीयस्य सः विसर्गे कृते खरवसानयोर्विसर्जनीयः इति सूत्रेण खरि इति अनुवर्तते खरि परे विसर्जनीयः विसर्जनीयस्य सः स्यात्. When followed by a khar varna, the visarga is converted to sakara, is what this sutra tells. Okay. But there is an vikalpa to this sutra, va shari. Okay. So this actually we should be studying. We will be studying these sutras in detail in the Visarga Sandhi Prakarana. Okay. This is told here only because of prasanga. Once we have the repa is converted to visarga, now we have to convert the visarga to sakara. The sutra to convert visarga to sakara is visarjaniyasya saha. Khari pare, when followed by khar varna, the visarga is converted to sakara. Is this sutra. But this is a nitya sutra. There is an optional sutra which tells va shari. Shari pare visarjaniyasya visarjaniya eva vasyat. When followed by a shar varna, the visarga optionally gets sattva and optionally remains as visarga. Okay, but now in Sanskrita, when we have this gets visarga. After we do visarga, if we use visarjaniyasya saha, we should get sattva, but that is prevented by vashari, which tells there is an optional visarga. As an exception to both these, there is a vartika, which tells etad apavade, arthat visarjaniyasya saha ityasya apavade, pakshike visarge prapte. We get an optional visarga. Sampunkanam so vaktavyaha iti vartikam. This says sampumka. For all these, there is sattva. Instead of vashari, we get a compulsory sattva. Visarjaniyasya saha gave compulsory sakara, which was prevented by vashari, which gave an optional sakara. Now this tells if it is sam, hum or ka, there is compulsory sakara. Right? What happens here is, in case of Anuswara, you have sa, r, skarta. You have samaskarta, samassuti ityanena rutvam, atranunasikah purvas अत्रानुनासिकः पूर्वस्य तु वा इत्यनेन अनुनासिकः ततः रेफस्य विसर्जनीयः खरवसानयोः विसर्जनीयः ततः विसर्जनीयस्य स्थाने संपुङ्कानां स्ववक्तव्यः इति सत्वं संस्कर्ता इति रूपं संस्कर्ता sorry, this has been interchanged. This is Anunasika Paksha and this, the one which comes now, is Anuswara Paksha. In the Anuswara Paksha, you had Samaskarta. There is Samassuti where the Makara is converted to Repha, Rutva. And then Anunasikat Paronuswaraha ityanena Anuswararamaha. Tataha Kharavasanayor Visarjaniyaha iti Rephasya Visargaha. Tataha Sampunkanam Svavaktavyaha iti Sakaraha. You get Samskarta. Sanskarta and Samskarta. There is one with an Anunasika form and the one with an Anuswara form. Right? So I think we'll stop here. This actually goes on, but please, for the next class, please look at what we did today and be clear on how we got these two forms, because we'll be developing on these forms. So I want you to go through the notes once and be clear on how we got to these two forms. The round symbol is because of the software. It does not allow to put a visarga after a anuswara. The visarga has to be after a swara, otherwise it gives this round symbol. Please ignore it. It just means there is some and an immediate visarga which is converted to sakara. Okay. So we stop here. If you have any questions, you can ask now or next class. Oh, Ravi.
Okay, I'll try to upload this today.
That means which I have to upload this now. I'll try to. Okay. So yeah. So I think we'll stop here and we'll continue this in the next class. Yena akshara samam nayam adigamya maheshwarat kritsnam vyakaranam proktam tasmai paninaye namaha. Akhyakaram vararuchim bhashakaram patanjalim paninim sutrakaram cha pranatosmi munitrayam munitrayan namaskritya tadukti paribhavya cha vayyakarana siddhanta kaumudiyam virachyate.